Can I take your portrait? Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, guys, we are back with the all-new Nikkor 50mm f1.4. About a month or so ago, they released the 35 1.4, very close to when the Z6 III was launched. And now we have a 50 1.4. This is gonna be a nice pair with the micro lens they have, the 51.8, and of course, the big daddy, the 51.2. But one of the selling points with this lens is gonna be the size, the weight, the STM Motors, the close focusing distance, and just the versatility of this lens. We're here in Little India. Let's take it around, let's take some shots, and let's see how this lens performs. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. One thing you're gonna notice about this lens is how light it is. It's coming around 420 some grams thereabouts, and it feels really good on the Z8. Now, we will actually be trying it on the ZF as well because I think a lot of people will want to pair this lens to the ZF, but this is fantastic. Got a truck coming right here. We're in the middle of Little India in the morning time. Things happen here. It's bustling, it's busy. I thought it'd be nice too because the light is great and people are really friendly during this time of the day. So I thought we'd get some nice street shots with this because this is gonna be a really good street photographer's lens as well as take some video out here as well. So let's walk around once more. Test out a little bit of the chromatic aberrations, the purple and green fringing on metallic objects. One of the good things about this lens is close focusing, 0.37 meters, which is closer than the 1.8. I mean, so far, looking at the images on camera, of course, we're gonna go into Lightroom and take a look at them in Lightroom later on in this video, but right out of camera, I'm pleasantly surprised by this lens. I mean, images look sharp, look organic, have a nice color tone to them, and the autofocusing is just lightning quick. This is very, very fast. Chromatic aberration, I mean, basically, of course, looking inside camera here right now, it looks to be pretty well controlled. I mean, there's gonna be a little bit here and there. Again, this is more of a budget-friendly lens, so we can't necessarily say it's gonna be at the same level as the 51.2, but I think for a lot of people out there, for the price point and for the versatility and the lightweightness of this, I think it's gonna be a very good, viable option. Anyway, let's walk around and take some more pics. All right, so just based on the images on the back of the camera with the 1.2 and the 1.4, autofocusing is pretty much spot on. So I don't see much of a difference in terms of autofocusing speed. The image quality, of course, the 51.2 is an S-line lens. So you're gonna see a little bit more better micro contrast based on what I'm seeing on the back of this camera. Now, again, we'll go into Lightroom later on in this video and we'll pixel peep, but I'm seeing the performance to be really good on this. And for a good street photographer's lens, as I mentioned, portraiture lens, semi-portraiture lens, this 51.4 doesn't disappoint. Now, there's a little bit of distortion in the image when you're shooting straight lines, just a little bit. Obviously easy, well corrected in Lightroom or Capture One or whatever software you want to use. This gated door, notice the lines just a little bit bending, but again, we're looking at a much more budget-friendly lens, so these things are to be expected. But again, the image quality, the sharpness, the colors out of this, not much to complain about, especially for the price point. Like most Nikon lenses, you're gonna have the control ring here at the bottom. Now, of course, by default, it is designated to aperture control. So I usually turn that off and I control the aperture through the camera system because, the way that I grab a lens here and there, I'm always having to readjust the aperture. But again, this is customizable, but the control ring is there like we see on other Nikon lenses. So now if you have a Nikon Zf, which is one of my favorite cameras that they make thus far in terms of the design, just the image quality, it's phenomenal. This pairs very well. It's lightweight. Again, you can take the hood off. It makes it a little bit more compact, a bit more svelte, but it feels really good on the ZF. So if you want a good 50mm lens, the 40 is not quite your speed. I understand that. I love the 40 personally, but if you want a 50 1.4, this is gonna feel very good. And because of the weight of the lens paired with the body, I can see a lot of people picking this up, especially for the ZF. It's time to pixel peep. Now let's look at bokeh first and foremost here. We saw this shot earlier in the video. It's got a nice fall off here, pretty well controlled. Now, all these images have been edited. This is without the edit. And as you can see, it's pretty well controlled in terms of the green highlights around the lights here. So it's not too bad. Again, we're looking at a budget-friendly lens. So when you take that in consideration, this is pretty well controlled. But a little bit of an edit like this and everything looks a-okay by me. Now, once again, if you're going to be using Lightroom CC, please take note of the very severe noise reduction that comes in when you import your images, okay? So I'm noticing that here. I'm turning the color down, the luminance down, and that's when you're going to see the maximum sharpness here in terms of the detail and also just the overall better image quality, because this will soften it all up. So just keep that in mind. We'll look at the bokeh balls here. We're looking at these little lights in the background of this Vespa. And as you can see, they're pretty circular for the most part, well controlled again. I mean, a little bit of haloing right there, but just ever so slight, guys. We're just pixel peeping, but for the most part, it looks really, really good. Let's look at this shot here with these tomatoes. And I just loved how the sun was hitting on this. Again, I've turned all the noise down to absolutely zero on this. You're seeing that there. These are my edits here. This is before edit. This is after edit, before edit, and after edit. Again, edits are a personal preference. Just pulling a little bit more of the shadows and the detail here. But again, very happy with this. This was a JPEG. One thing I noticed when I was doing this, changing the lenses back and forth from 1.8 to 1.04 to 1.2, sometimes the settings in the Z8 would get a little bit, they would change. So I ended up shooting this in JPEG, which wasn't what I wanted to do. I normally shoot in RAW, but the images came out fine and I got an idea of how it looks. And again, the fall off, the circular bokeh right here, everything really, really nice. Now let's look at a comparison between the 1.2 and the 1.4. Okay, so let's just go here so we can see that. This is the 1.4. This was a gentleman who was very kind enough to stand for a number of photos with us here. And let's just go without edit and we will zoom in on his face. Now, again, there's noise reduction on this when I click on that. So I'm gonna go back to my edit here and it's all turned down. But as you see from the detail on his face, it's pretty sharp. Is it as sharp as the 1.2? No, you're gonna see that image in just a second. It could be a little bit softer, but again, the price point for this lens versus the performance, I'm very happy with this. And for the most part, sometimes you don't want a lens that's too sharp, especially if you're photographing people. Now, this is the 1.2. Now, obviously, you can see more detail around his eyes, his face, the mustache, his little chin hair here. All that's coming into play. So again, this looks really, really good. This is before edit. Here's after edit, before edit, and after edit. But again, you're seeing some really good detail. It's not much difference from the 1.4, but it is a noticeable difference. Now let's take a look at chromatic aberration here for a second. And this was a bell that was on this plate here. And I thought this would be a nice way to kind of show you this. And let me just go without edit so we can get a little closer on this color here. Again, colors are personal preference you may like or dislike. When you shoot metallic objects, usually you might see a lot of purple or green fringing, but again, you're seeing a little bit of green fringing here, but it is well controlled for the most part. You know, after an edit here, if you want me to fix it for you real quick here, I can do that. And the tools are, actually, let's bring that down so it brings the sharpness down even more. See how much sharper it gets? Remember to check this, guys. Remember to check that. So as you can see, it is clearing up some of this chromatic aberration. A little bit will be there, but again, nobody's going to notice unless you're, you know, really pixel peeping. But if you're at this level, it's fine. No issues at all with that. Again, we're looking at a budget-friendly lens, so imperfections will come into play. Now let's check out this door here in terms of a little bit of distortion. It's ever so slight. Can correct this. Go into Lightroom, hit auto. It corrects itself. You can obviously go a little bit more into it if you want to do that. You know, you can bend it in a bit more, tweak it. But I mean, these things can be fixed with software, but you know, out of camera, it's pretty decent. Is it going to be a deal breaker? No. Have I seen lenses much worse? Yes. This is still really, really good. A 51.4, predominantly you're going to be shooting subjects with, you know, a little bit of separation from the background. If you are going to shoot walls or texture or architecture, it's just something that you're going to fix. And for most lenses out there, unless you're spending thousands of dollars on the top end lenses, you're going to be fixing this in Lightroom or Capture One regardless. And here's a picture of the fence as well, so you get a sense of that. But again, look at the detail. Very sharp, very happy with the performance of it, and you can always fix the distortion. So now I'm going to show you a quick focus breathing test with this 1.4 lens, and as you see right there with the apples, very minimal focus breathing. So for video folks who want a light lens and decent focus breathing, this is a 50mm to heavily consider. I think the price point of this lens is fantastic. The performance is solid, close focusing, very fast autofocus. It's a very hard lens to beat for the price point in the Nikon lineup. Yes, the 51.2 is the superior lens, but it's also a bigger lens. So you have to take that in consideration. And the 1.8,
I think this 1.4 might be the better overall lens in my personal opinion, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. More content on the way. Thanks again for the support, and I'll chat to you all very, very soon. Take care.